Tiny, do you know any granny magic that can take care of my cold that I have at the moment?
Not off the top of my head.
All right.
I can sage you because I know how to do that.
I can be saged.
Yeah. It'll get out the bad spirits, but if that helps, like cough due cold, I don't know.
Is it maybe the cold is the bad spirit though? Maybe that's what I need removed.
Maybe there is a little shop in town called the Tiny Cloak.
You told me about that before.
Yeah, she might know some stuff that I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, Montana. She. I don't know.
I would exorcise the demon, but I don't feel like walking or
exercise
moving.
Or exorcise.
No, exercise.
Oh.
Like I would just like run it out, but
because you got to get it. You got to get it out to exercise it. So
well,
you can just close the door behind it.
I mean, I am a registered demonologist.
Yeah,
I paid $25 to $30 American.
That's a steal, man.
Yeah, is that good for anything? No, but I have it.
This situation, maybe. Is sage where you burn you burn it and you like move it around in the smoke?
Yeah, smudging.
That's called smudging?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm learning.
If you want some granny magic, I do have an elixir that is an anti-inflammatory cough.
If it's anything to do with licking your butthole, because I know that's probably where this is headed.
No, but it could have easily taken
it.
It
all depends on how bad this gets.
That only helps with nausea and vertigo.
Raw local honey.
Okay.
Raw local honey.
Yeah.
Onions.
Ah.
Garlic.
Okay.
And cinnamon.
And cayenne pepper.
And cayenne pepper. You put that all in a jar. You let it marinate for at least 24 hours, and you take it like a cough syrup. The onion and the garlic and the cayenne, they all work together as an anti-inflammatory along with the honey as an anti-inflammatory. So all the swelling and all of the goopy that you have going on, it'll help relieve all of that. Elderberry was supposed to be in there too, but then again, I don't know.
You don't put elderberry in that crap. You just take it separate.
Yeah.
Because that taste would be abominable.
Oh, and echinacea and goldenrod, and make sure you rub some peppermint oil on your temples.
I put my crystals under my pillow to charge on my side, but it's not doing anything.
Did you put the selenite one inside your butt crack?
Yeah, of course I did, Tiny. That's like the first step.
Have you checked to make sure Mercury wasn't in retrograde?
The Capri Sun was in its third moon phase.
Did you align your chakras?
Of course I align my chakras. Like this is baby stuff.
Did you go from the crown to the root or root to crown?
I went crown to butthole.
It's really gonna.
No, you stop at the root because the root's the bottom one.
It's really gonna French with the zodiac people.
Yeah, probably.
Whenever they figure out that Saturn's rings are disappearing because we won't be able to see them anymore.
Right. Otto, you're my only hope. How do I solve this?
See, I usually just do what most men do and suffer in silence and blow my nose and then complain that I'm feeling sick. And then it just goes away after a while. Okay. You know, you just go through like 6 rolls of toilet paper and more snot than you knew your body could physically hold.
Yeah.
And then you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not the best thing.
Yeah.
Although
you take it in until it's completely from horn to hoof.
Yeah.
And that's when you go seek like Mucinex.
Yeah.
But at that point, you take it, you start to feel better, and then you wonder,
is it
because the Mucinex is working, or am I finally just working my way through it?
Right. And there's a fun flip side to granny magic, which I call cowboy medicine.
Okay.
Because usually whenever I'm sick, the one thing I do is I drink a hot toddy, which is a tea, shot of whiskey or bourbon, honey, and lemon, and it knocks you out and makes you sweat more than you've sweat your entire life. And then you're fine in the morning.
Well, you call your friend Hot Todd, and we'll have him over, and he can fix me up real quick. Hey everybody, I'm Dane, sick as a dog Holland. I did one this time, guys. I've never done one before.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer.
I'm Otto, kind of upset that I have to go to work later, Cogdell.
And I'm Tiny. That's it. That's all I had. I was just going simple today.
We are Nerd Through the Grapevine, the podcast where 4 best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. But you already know that, and our patrons already know that. And if you want to be a patron that already knows that, with the other patrons that know that, join our Patreon. There's a link in the thing. You don't have to if you don't want to, but we want you to.
Yes, we want to get to double digits because there is a prize involved for me.
Very soon, yeah.
It's not really a prize like we're all going to lose.
Yeah.
But
I'll enjoy losing.
Really
yeah, it's one of those that I don't care that I'm losing because I win at the same time.
Hey, update for the Patreon folks. The issue that might have prevented us from progressing in our prize giveaway if we reach those double digits, upon checking this morning, all is going very well.
Yay.
Nice.
Yippee.
A warm compress should help ease it along.
And of course, as always, the patrons will get to listen to this uncensored and early. So that's exciting for all of them.
You get that juice before and after the squeeze.
The uncircumcised edition.
Yeah.
Fully intact grapes.
What kind of uncircumcised grape juice are we going to indulge in today?
Well, today we are examining and talking about different magic systems in, books, TV shows, movies, what have you.
Granny magic, cowboy magic, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also,
I have started a new series of books that has a very interesting magic system. Some magic systems are more, I guess, mysterious, ethereal, spiritual things. And some of them, they're kind of loosely based in science. And I think those are some of my more favorite ones because I'm not going to say they're plausible, but they seem more plausible based on the explanations. Does that make any sense to anybody?
They seem more realistic.
And
like something that could be actually in our world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd asked a friend of mine about this. He's pretty knowledgeable, and he gave me a little bit of a good answer for me to read to you guys. It's kind of like a classification system for where these magic systems would fall into. And he classifies them into 4 systems. And his name's Brandon, by the way.
Hey, Brandon.
Brandon's Sanderson.
So wait, hold on.
Hey.
Wait a second. You know him?
So
how'd you know him?
Was that his roommate once?
So yeah, you were.
Okay.
The 4
Has he
times
seen your nutsack too?
everybody that's my friend has, and if they haven't, watch out.
Tab, you're next.
I think even one of our listeners, Jessica, has as well, just because she's so close of a friend to my wife.
That poor girl. That poor girl. So sorry, Jess.
It's called a seal egg. So he classifies them in 4 different systems. So you have hard rational, hard irrational, soft irrational, and soft rational. So the way he classifies his hard and soft, this is going to be so difficult for me. It's going to be so
dude. That's the 4 faces of the wieners.
I know. And
what phase is your dick in right now?
Hey, the hard irrational, that is all of your teenage years as a boy.
Astrology, move the French over. We're in dick phases now.
What phase?
Everyone.
It's in the waxing soft rational phase.
Guys, I know right now we're in a soft irrational, but we're moving into a hard irrational soon. We just got to hold on for another couple months.
The basic way that, and I hate to say basic, the basic way that he describes just your base hard rational magic system, he actually uses Superman as a reference point. Because if you're basing it on powers and things that are of the otherworldly, supernatural stuff like that, Superman does count because it's not of this world that his abilities exist. But
alien magic,
every aspect of why does he have this power? How does he use this power? What does this power radiate from? Literally, the sun. How does this? So everything about him, both his strengths and weaknesses, and how they progress and degress over time. Like you have his ability to be hurt by kryptonite over time, and sun absorption. He develops an immunity to kryptonite because it's no longer strong enough radiation from his home planet to overpower the radiation he's absorbed from our sun. So it's stuff like that in a hard rational system that there's no question to it. It's not like all of a sudden Superman's going to point his finger and shoot a lightning bolt out.
Although sometimes he does take the S off of his suit and throw it and capture someone.
One time.
Didn't he do it twice?
One time that happened,
twice.
and nobody could ever let it go.
How did he do that?
That was
in a hard rational system. Like what gave him that ability?
For some reason, they wanted him to have a gadget. And this was this
Okay,
which Superman live act? It was a Superman movie that this
one of the
happened
old
in.
ones. I
It was
the one was Zod.
was it 2 or it might have been
Maybe.
2. I don't remember it in Superman 1, but in I think 2, he took the shield S off of his chest and it turned into like a absorption gummy circular blanket thing that
It's like a net.
You can't move now. Super quick.
He has also been able to shoot small hymns out of his palm. That is in a couple of the comics. So
Like hymns, as in like
as small
church
Superman,
music?
no Superman, small Superman.
Okay.
He was able to launch them out of one of his palms, Iron Man style.
Where in the world? Where
It was-
was
it was
he
in a
for
comic.
this?
This is the wild
Really?
thing with comics
Yeah.
to me. 'Cause,
So
as someone that never like super got into comics, every time I hear something that happened in comics, I'm like, this just doesn't sound real. Like, you have to be bullshitting me at this point. Like, someone wrote this?
That's Elseworlds, baby. And,
Right.
and old comics are weird, man. Like you find some weird stories that they were just, I don't know, they were hungry for some kind of new story, and they're just throwing stuff at the wall, check and see if it sticks.
maybe it was too much spicy lettuce.
I mean, honestly, it's that Superman has had. There are reasons for comic reboots. The Silver Age of comic books, at the end of the phases of the Silver Age of comic books, Superman had so much power that he accidentally rearranged a solar system when he sneezed.
I do remember that.
And that's why reboots in comic books happen and rewrites happen for stuff, because once he gets so strong that he can rearrange solar systems with his sneeze, you got to do a little bit of etching on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, before we get too far off topic, can
yeah.
you explain the other forms?
Yes, but basically it breaks down into, the what is explained and what is understood, both from sides of strengths and weaknesses, to how it's based off percentages. So then you get into your other magic systems. You think about it as 50% of the entire system is known and understood to the readers or the viewers. Then that is a hard system. 50% or less of the magic systems costs and what makes them work, tick, weaknesses, this and that, and you don't know it, that makes it soft.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, can they progress from soft to hard? As like a novel
pleasing enough
or
to
a
read, I
series progresses.
Yeah. I know you.
But if it stays hard for
You've been
more than
doing it
4
to me.
hours,
You've been
I
doing it to
know,
me.
I know. That's why I didn't.
It's too
That's why I
easy.
didn't say anything.
It's too easy.
I felt my middle finger itch real hard, and I was like, "Don't," because you would have done it.
Surely there can be fluid magic systems, right? I mean, even two different sides of the magic system in a book.
Well, I mean, there's a series that I was thinking of that it progresses as kind of like a general vague explanation, and then when you get to the final novel, it explains everything. Well, pretty much everything you could have asked.
Yeah.
That wasn't explained in the previous two.
I mean, I can't think of anything personally that would have a soft magic system that would progress into a hard
Star Wars.
You think?
Because it started out as, I mean, this is a very loose definition. This is the first thing that popped up. Because, in the first 3, the Force was just a religion that you can join, and then eventually you can pick up rocks with your mind. And then, they're like, oh no, well, we gotta be a little bit more scientific-y, so they brought in the midichlorians and then the whole midichlorian count thing.
That's just because George Lucas is a Frenching idiot. That's the only reason that it did that, because he had to have an explanation. He couldn't let it just be based on faith.
But it did happen.
He got scared. It did happen.
It did happen, though.
I don't add that in as canon because that's just stupid.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Well, the second axis that you have to worry about is not based off of the knowledge of the systems and the weaknesses. It's adherence to the systems and to everything. So it says the second axis is irrational/rational. That is a sliding scale that measures how rational or irrational a magic system is. It connects the rules, the limitations, the weaknesses, the patterns, and just the general ability to apply logic to what the systems are being used for.
Gotcha.
So kind of like the more scientific-y ones being logical and the more almost faith, spiritual-based ones being illogical.
Something like that, I'd imagine so, because it defies your rational understanding of the way things would. Because in certain spells, you're having to, say, summon deities, and then the deities do your bidding. that's not always the case, because there's not a rational explanation as to why you've got, well, it depends also how much they explain the backstory, but why is this deity, this god figure, now answering to you? That's completely irrational. He could squish you like a bug.
Gotcha.
Maybe. I don't know.
Unless it's in like a contract in the, in the summoning situation, like it says in it, if you summon this demon, they will protect you and fight for you. Then that's rational because it's written right there. It's like, okay, this is why they're not going to just kill this person.
Because anime is a dead 50-50 split for me for the kinds that I watch, whether or not it's going to be a hard magic system or a soft magic system, because sometimes you just get thrown into it and everybody just knows how to do stuff. Mm-hmm. Other times you get thrown into it and you are going through every ounce of training, every ounce of schoolwork, every single bit of studying to craft skills and everything else along those lines. So it's a complete hard system. Some of them legitimately actually take the path of complete logic as well. There's one I've been watching, I think it's like, oh God, it's one of those long title ones. Follow through of a certain man's VR MMO, I think is what it is. Anyway, it's basically just a guy who's playing a VR MMO, virtual reality multiplayer, whatever.
Massive multiplayer online.
There you go.
I thought the O was like organism or orgasm.
It can be.
It can be.
Especially when you're wearing one of those visor
when
things.
You get into some of those dark RP servers, and it can be.
Get weird.
But basically,
weird. I don't play those.
He wants nothing to do with the main storyline of the video game that he is playing. He wants to just go and craft, and he wants to go and try to live another life doing what he wants to do in this game without having to go typical, I'm the hero of the game.
Yeah, if you play Skyrim enough, you end up doing that, because that's what I did.
He's basically just in there to do everything he wants to, and he does like bow skills, which are like completely frowned upon in the game because they're the weakest damn asset you can have in the game. Just because they're impossible to master, they're super weak. You have to like spend so much time on them and just not progress. But he's like, I want to shoot a bow and arrow, so he focuses a lot of time training on bow and arrow, and he gets so good at the bow and arrow that nobody else uses a bow and arrow but him in the game. But anyway,
what's the magic in that?
The magic in that is off of crafting. It's like crafting magic is what he uses, because he's a blacksmith, so he has to up his crafting skills, and it shows all the stuff he has to do to collect his ore and to collect his different, his hair from mythical beasts to make his bow strings and stuff along those lines. And it's really cool. It's just like it's a fantasy based anime that is basically you just playing a crafting game, like Ark.
I feel like alchemy a lot of times can be closer to like what would you say, rational? Hard?
That's kind of what he was describing was alchemy.
Right. It's like mixing the two of physical things.
I think it depends how alchemy is described, because depending on the system, it can be described several different ways.
Right.
Because one man's alchemy is not necessarily the same as another man's alchemy.
Yeah, it's kind of a broad term.
Yeah, one man's alchemy, he's going to make gold. The other one's alchemy is going to make sure you and your favorite pet never get separated for life.
Oh, no.
Right. I was actually just about to say a similar, like, Fullmetal Alchemist is one of... I'm usually more of a fan of a soft magic system, because a lot of the times I want you to just tell me the rules and then get the out of the way with it.
It already happened. Go.
Because, like, I think also is a lot of it comes down to the media you consume, because we've said this before, hard magic systems I think are better in books, because reading 3 paragraphs of why something works the way it does makes a lot more sense than listening to a character have a 2-minute explanation of why he has to use the brown rock instead of the black rock to make the fireball shoot out. And Fullmetal Alchemist kind of does a soft magic system, and it does a weird in-between where it's like it's soft in the fact that like they never say what alchemy can't do, but there's a lot of stuff that like you have to have it a certain way to do it. And I think for me, that's a lot more of what I like, is just the softer magic systems, because they work a lot more fast and loose with stuff. You can have a lot more fun with it.
I mean, I do like both, because I like just going, this works just because this works.
Right.
And, you can move on about your day. But I also like I'm reading the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, and the way he's doing it, he's just kind of letting the rules of the magic system just occur naturally to you, and you're picking up, the things along the way instead of, a page-long exposition of how this works. I mean, there is some of that because some of it you're just not going to pick up because it's based on light and refraction of light. People can draft different colors, and basically they're pulling in that color of light, and they can manifest that in the physical sense. And so you might be able to pull in one color or a couple of colors, but every generation has what's called the prism, who can work in all the colors infinitely. And it affects your eyes. Like you see their eyes starting to fill up with colors. And once they break the halo of the iris, it's said that they go insane. I don't know what that's about yet. I haven't got that far.
Yeah.
But you become what's known as a color white. So it's each color has its own cause and effect, and it has its own physical manifestation. They call it luxin. So like yellow is real liquidy, whereas your red is like a sticky tar-like substance, and you can manifest the things as physical objects, be it like, I don't know, a bridge or a sword or what have you, and you can do it with your own color.
Sounds like you took
really
inspiration from the Lantern universe in DC.
Kind of, yeah, because
the spectrum of colors, and they all use them in different ways.
I even had that when he was talking about orange, and it can cause avarice if you let the color consume you. I went, hold on, that's Green Lantern. That's Lantern Corps.
That's literally what orange stands for in the Lantern Corps.
I mean, it's not a direct rip. I don't feel. I feel like he took inspiration because just like that one, I'm like, come on, that's Lantern Corps.
Well,
whereas green in this is more like nature-y, so it's not a direct rip.
Yeah, but you've got iterations of colors being representations of different emotions for a long time.
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
super
I mean,
common.
that's
like red, rage, or passion.
Right. I mean,
Right.
it's symbolism that's been established over many, many years.
Just because the Red Lanterns, gurgle out their bodily fluids as a form of black red energy lava, that's just, I think they might have done the best job with rage.
Yeah.
Boiling, like, how do I represent boiling rage all the time? Well, can their bodies be liquid on the inside that boils out in the form of energy goo? Run it.
Yeah.
Can a cat do it? Yeah, we can do that too.
Yeah, he can be the best one.
Well, there's also like almost a blending, because I don't think that there's really ever been, except for the Force as it should be, a true just soft magic system, because the Force was just a thing that happened. There's always a little something that tells you.
Yeah, they tried to put some Viagra in the water.
They tried to stiffen it up a little bit.
When they put those midichlorians in the mix there, they're like, well, we're going to have to stiffen this up a little bit because we can't be so loose with it.
Well, or it was like adding cornstarch as a binder and stuff.
The gravy got too thick.
Right, because they wanted a little bit to give a little explanation, because in Brent Weeks' Night Angel trilogy, for instance, there's only a couple of things to that magic system. Yeah. You get energy from the sun or from like fire and heat, and that fills basically, it's called your Glorvierden. It fills that like a magic meter, and then when that runs out, you have to recharge. That's really the only rules to it.
That's like me being in public. I have that same meter. My magic meter runs out. That's what it is.
It's represented in most like video games that you'd be familiar with is like mana. Like mana is usually that source that you draw from to be able to use magic. And I like whenever magic is used in a way of it costs something extra to you. And I'm sure there's a game that exists out there. And if one of our listeners knows about one, tell me. But I'd like a game to where if I'm using the mana that I have to use the magic to, I don't know, use spells and stuff. Once I run out of mana, I would like to still use the magic, but it like use my health bar or something, like degrade part of me while I'm choosing to still use the magic. Because in different stories, whenever it shows this person went insane because they just could not stop. They used magic as too much of a crutch.
Dead Cells.
That's not game, but book. That's Lightbringer.
That is like Lightbringer?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've read part of the Night Angel trilogy, really like Brent Weeks' writing.
Yes.
And Lightbringer, I've heard, is something I probably like even more.
Yeah, his Night Angel trilogy was his first series of books, so there's a little weaknesses.
Yeah.
He's not good at writing female characters, so some of you may become very offended by what he says, and that's okay. However, the lightbringer is, I like it, but I was also a real big fan of Night Angel. They're different, but there's some similarities.
See, with magic systems, I think it really matters how the magic matters in the story, right? If it's a story to where magic exists there, but the story itself isn't about the magic, like it's about something else.
Yes.
I think a softer magic system makes more sense because it's just something happening and they're using it to meet their end goals.
It's just a part of daily life.
Yeah.
Like my anime that I watched with my wife called My Happy Marriage. It is a magic system that dominates the entirety of the way that they live their lives. If you are in a noble family of noble birth and of noble bloodline, you have inherited a magical bloodline that allows you to carry out supernatural tasks. You have control over fire. You have control over people's emotions. You have control over the way that light refracts around you and you can become invisible. You have all these different abilities that come from the noble bloodlines, but it's not the main focus of the show. Mm-hmm. The main focus of the show is actually just this girl who's tormented and tortured by her family and then has to, gets into this arranged marriage with a supposed like bad guy who's just mean. And it turns out he's just misunderstood, just like she's just misunderstood, and they have to grow together.
But the magic's just kind of happening.
The magic just kind of happens. And it ends up being such a loose system that she's been like this magicless noble that's been downtrodden and all this other stuff to only be the most powerful of them all, of course.
So are you trying to say that they are trying to achieve harmony?
Yes.
And not discord?
Yeah, because Discord has a link in the description,
it
right?
Does. It does. It's down there. I didn't know what
drum
that
rolling
was
for
a second.
It was happy taps.
I was happy tapping.
It's down there. Click it. Get in the server.
Get in.
Like, we have good times. We have discussions about all kinds of stuff.
It's how we did a meetup recently.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just a spur of the moment meetup thing. I was just trying to get Austin a lot of work because he looked bored.
Yeah, I certainly was bored. Yes,
was.
He said, "I want this place to be so flooded you can't sit down."
Yeah, I did say that. I mean, and eventually with enough people, that can happen. But we're on there. We're live, uncut, uncensored, and irrevocably circumcised.
Yeah, we are.
But back to Star Wars real quick before I lose my thought.
I was going to mention something about that
my
too.
Star Wars, I said they tried to make it hard by introducing the midichlorians, but then in the sequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, they got real loose with it again because the one moment that kind of stands out to me is whenever Kylo gets the Force teleported lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
We ain't saint that.
Yeah, it's like a level like the dyad between him and Rey is like something we've never seen. So
yeah, and they didn't even have to explain it, and he explained it with a shoulder shrug and just I got a lightsaber now. Shing, 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 shing.
And it was so cool.
Yeah.
But that's a situation to where normally I would say if the story itself revolves a lot around the magic itself and like main characters like learning more about themselves through the magic and the magic playing a big role in the big finale, of the book or movie or show, whatever. It's nice to have a harder magic system because you're learning more as the character learns more and things start making sense.
Well, I think it also depends on the author's skill level.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because like the Night Angel, I keep coming back to the Night Angel. Yeah. It's a very soft magic system, and magic ends up playing a bigger and bigger role until the culmination of the series, and there's just not a ton of explanation. And then you get into something like Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It's a very hard magic system. A couple of them. Ferrochemy, for instance, like you store different attributes inside of metals.
Yeah.
So if you want to be strong, you have to spend X amount of time. It's very weak. And so when you're ready to tap into that, you can go like straight Hulkamania and like just destroy. Yeah. I don't really know. I'd lost track of what I was saying and just got to describing. Well, I had a point, and it's gone.
You mentioned that it all depends on how good the author is as far as how they describe that system and how it works into the story. Because with Star Wars, a lot of that story revolves around the Force. I mean, without the Force, there's not much of Star Wars to start off with. I know there's a lot of stories that don't have to involve the Force, but as far as the light side, the dark side, and what happens in between, you would think that maybe learning more about this Force as the story goes on would make sense. But a lot of Star Wars doesn't make sense, so you don't have to do that because the story itself isn't that great. So it's this weird in-between of the story revolves around the magic system, and yet we don't need to know more about the magic system because it's fine just being something that exists that you can tap into. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, I feel like it depends how focused on that the work is.
Yeah.
Because like Star Wars, it's not focused on it, it's just a big portion of it.
Right.
So if it's more focused on what's happening in this magical, mystical realm, you need to have some hard and fast rules, and you need to be able to describe them well because otherwise it just doesn't make sense.
The whole midichlorian thing, if they wanted to do it, if he was like, no, we have to do midichlorians, we're going to do midichlorians, it should have been some kind of like bigger reveal of something they found out that, holy shit, like we can actually understand the Force now just by this organism that lives within someone's blood or something like that. Like it should have been a huge thing that even the viewer is like, whoa, that's crazy. But instead it was what? I think Qui-Gon maybe just mentions the word midichlorians whenever he's talking about Anakin.
Like, oh my God, he has the highest midichlorian count, even more than Master Yoda. And that's the first time you hear the word midichlorian.
What are you
that's because
about,
the
man?
mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Sure is.
So the midichlorian is the powerhouse of the Force.
Yeah.
Well, and
also, no one gives a shit.
well, and I think like
None. No shits, none given, none taken. Sorry, Otto.
no, you're good. The reason that Star Wars really got away with it for so long is a lot of your hard magic systems, magic can do everything. Like magic is like it can bring everything from like bring people back to the dead to like light a fire to like turn on. Whereas the Force, at least for the first 3 movies, is it pushes, it pulls, and you can communicate with people.
It zaps.
That it zaps.
It does that.
But
Yeah.
it's not like until later on, like we really don't get a lot of what the Force is. So just Obi-Wan explaining, yes, it's an old religion where like the Force is this thing where it binds everything, it feels everything, you flow through the universe. It's like, okay, that makes sense because what we have seen the Force do is push a thing, pull a thing, throw a thing, and shoot lightning.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And persuade people.
Right. But at the same time, like, it's given a loose enough explanation, and what it can do is so, like, only 1 or 2 people can do this. Whereas if you have a magic system where everyone in the world can use magic, and magic can do everything, I feel like you do need to give a little bit more of an explanation, because it's like, how does everyone just know how to do this kind of thing?
You know, I've got a real fresh hot take for everybody.
A hot one?
A fresh hot
Ooh.
one. And this is based off of a recent viewing of a documentary series
Fresh hot load.
that I watched literally all of it last night.
Oh, wow.
And it is the most amazing use of a soft, irrational magic system that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Used as a source of religion and as a source of finding your true love. It is a group that is called that still exists and is still functioning with over 10,000 members in the United States.
Is this Scientology?
No, it is not. It is called the my heavens! It is called the Twin Flames universe, and it cracks me up because I had no idea about the Twin Flames, and I wrote the Pick of Destiny sequel that had to do with the Twin Flames of D, and I'm like, oh no, what did I accidentally name this after? And the Twin Flames universe takes people and they pretty much indoctrinate them into this world where this man named Jeff is Jesus again. He's back.
Okay. Way to go,
Again.
Jeff.
He's
You
back.
did it, Jeff.
He's close enough. Jesus, Jeff, and
Hef.
Senor Hef. And so him and his wife have convinced everybody that if you want to be in the perfect love match of your life with the one you are supposed to be with, your soul partner, you have to resonate on the same frequency. And only they can sense the frequency.
I've been resonating for a
convenient.
long time.
They can you have to resonate at a high enough frequency that you can actually attract your soul's one true love. And it doesn't matter who your soul's one true love is. You have to pursue them at all costs because you are meant to be together. Whether that be 14 or 15 different people with restraining orders, whether that be with people seeking people in other marriages and justifying trying to break up their marriages. It got even worse. Because then they started talking about two different things that they described as the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And they started assigning genders to the members of this cult. It's a cult.
I mean, there's a lot of cults that hit these points.
And they're getting really harsh scrutiny right now because of but it's literally persuasion magic is all that it is. It's like when your character is clearly going to be that
charisma that's maxed out.
He is chaotic evil, and he is because he bounces around. Because this guy has changed his name.
Bard.
Yes, he's changed his name 3 or 4 times. He's been a spiritual healer. He's been a financial advisor. He has been a life coach, and now he is a spiritual religious guru that is the second coming of Jesus.
Man, he's just ticking off all the grifter boxes.
Yeah,
I am,
he
and just watching this from the outside looking in, you're thinking to yourself, like, how in the hell can somebody get caught up in something like this? But that's kind of what a soft, irrational magic system does to you. It's like, well. It's like Han Solo looking at the people using the Force.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has no understanding as to why, his way of taking care of stuff is my wits and my pew-pew. He's got my wits, my pew-pew.
And my big dog.
And if I got to, I'm going to sick the on you. But this guy has convinced thousands and thousands of people to take his seminars at $200 a month.
A month?
And you have to sign on for at least a year to subscribe. He's collected all this money and all this power from these people. And I mean, that's like a real life, I don't know, like a real life sorcerer, like mind controlling people.
I mean, Scientology
Like a bard.
Does that. Not that specifically, but it's also like a weird magic system that people follow.
Yep.
I like whenever, just like you're mentioning with this, outside looking in, like Han Solo, watching someone else use the Force and they don't have it. I do like systems, and Otto mentioned earlier, like if everybody's got magic, then it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit harder to get into.
It's less magical if everybody has
if
magic.
everyone has it. Yeah, it's not a party if it happens every night.
So then you have to explain it to make it feel special.
I like whenever not every character has the magic, and a lot of times it's fun whenever the non-magic user overcomes the magic user because it's more relatable for us. It's why they write the character that way. Like, hey, just because these people have these superpowers, it doesn't mean that you can't win. I mean, Batman doesn't have magic.
Or when you have
Batman is the most powerful superhero
I
ever.
knew that was going to come.
He's
should not have opened this
hyper intelligence. He has peak physicality. And he's killed many a hero like Superman
and he's
Captain America.
And
yes, I know Captain America's Marvel.
I know,
It was a crossover. He left his universe, went
Batman.
over to the Marvel universe. I'm
sorry,
you
guys.
Frenched up.
No, I know,
and he
this is my
killed
fault.
Captain America
I apologize.
because he's the greatest superhero ever.
I'm sorry
and
to
we all
everyone
know
but
it.
Tiny.
And he also is irrevocably uncircumcised.
We know that.
we know that.
Yeah,
We've seen
yep.
it.
Yeah.
We also know that it drifts slightly to the left.
A little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
What was happening before Batman?
So I was
Whenever
going to
some
say
don't have magic, some do have it.
that's why one of my favorite shows that has a kind of a soft magic system is Avatar: The Last Airbender, because like it's just either you're a bender or you can't bend. So either you can throw the elements or you can't. Sokka, he's one of the main characters. He's in like the Avatar gang that goes around and saves everybody.
Is he the boomerang boy?
Yes, he has no bending ability, and he has none, but he has mastered fighting techniques from every single continent that they go to. He learns from with the Kyoshi warriors. He's a warrior with the Southern Water Tribe. He learns some of the air techniques. He learns sword fighting from one of the best swordsmen in the Fire Nation, and he still can stand his ground against people shooting fireballs at his face and throwing rocks at him, because he's like, I'm just freaking committed to doing this and becoming the best warrior that I can. And it's like that is my favorite part of that, is just because even though he doesn't have any magic, he has nothing that can do it, he can still be there.
That's like Sabine.
Well,
because she
not
was
anymore.
That's what I was saying, though. I like it whenever that person that's clearly not gifted in any kind of this magic can focus enough and train enough and unlock at least a little bit enough to be able to be like recognized by that magic.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
it's like a worthy thing. Like, are you worthy of this magic?
And
right?
I warned you ahead of time. Anime was happening. Black Clover, Black Clover, complete. And I believe that's a hard magic system. Because if you don't have a grimoire, if you don't have a connection to magic, you can't use magic. You have to study your grimoire. You have to be grimoire.
Grimoire. That's what you're talking about. Is grimoire?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a magic book.
Magic book. You got to study your magic book, and if you have to get into the depths of what kind of magic you have and what kind of magic it's blessed with, and how you can train in this and this and that, and then you've got Asta or Asta. Either way, ASTA. He has no magic. He is basically shunned by magic, and everybody treats him as such because this is a magic society. So he is the lowest orphaned totem on the pole. Like, he's just awful, just the most underdog you can be. But what nobody else has is the acceptance of anti-magic. So what happens with him is he opens the Black Clover grimoire. And that is supposed to be possessed by a demon. And that is what gives him his abilities, which are anti-magic abilities, which he's the only one who possesses those.
Which that's its own type of magic.
Yes.
That was just anti-magic.
Yes.
I think so. I have a favorite type of magic, and I've got a least favorite type of magic. I don't know if you guys have favorite and least favorite, or if you do, maybe you can think about it while I'm saying mine.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll say my least favorite first. Like chanting magic, like the whole reading it and the whole the classic like, oh no, we've got to say this at the same time. But Grandma, I don't know the words. Yeah, you do. You're a part of this family. You know.
You just have to follow your
just
heart.
Gotta follow your heart. And then they start chanting it, and then something interrupts part of it, or one of them starts to lose focus, and then they all come together and they say the random nonsense words that all of a sudden make the portal open and the bad guy disappears. I hate chanting magic.
No, you hate Halloween Town.
The Halloween Town is exactly that's the example that comes into my head.
Verbatim, just describe the ending to Halloween Town when they put Calabar into the portal.
Excellent. And this is in so many different shows and movies and books and stuff, is the whole like, just I don't care about the chanting nonsense words to make something happen. It's so annoying. I'm sure there are examples where that's cool, where like if you've got like a massive amount of people doing the chant together, that's kind of neat. But if the classic like gather around, put your hand on the book, and everybody chant the words, get that out of here.
I feel like
I don't
you're
care.
describing Catholicism.
Oh yeah, that's funny. And my favorite version is when like people aren't imbued with magic, but items are. Like it's a magical item, a totem, something that you can wear that gives you that ability. Like the lantern cores, for instance. Originally, like that is more of a magic, but then as the story went on, you found out the Guardians of the Universe, not the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's Marvel, Guardians of the Universe, they're little blue people. And they made these, like it's like technology as opposed to a magic. It's like a fusion of the two. But I like whenever, like the ring, like whenever Hal Jordan does not have his lantern ring.
He's just a dude.
He's just a dude. But he is trusted by the ring. Like the ring has chosen him. And I like whenever there's like a sword that's magical or a bow that's magical. You know, it's like playing D&D. And if I just have a fighter that has no magic ability, I like to get a weapon, like a magical weapon or something that's really cool. But those are my favorite types.
Because Wonder Woman's badass. But would she be as badass as she was without her gauntlets that make the shockwave thingy happen when she clanks them together, or the
lasso,
or the lasso of truth, or the sword that's blessed by the godly power, or the shield. Like, she's got so many magic artifacts that she uses, that the suit that turns her into a giant golden eagle, like, just all this stuff. She's got it going on.
Yeah.
I don't think I have one that I just don't like. The chanting, that's a good one to hate. I'm gonna steal that answer.
Yeah,
that
please
one.
do. The more of us, the merrier.
But I think I like transformation and conjuration like equally as well.
Okay.
Real cool example in V.E. Schwab's Different Shade of Magic trilogy, the king, who was known as the Steel King, badass title. He's in a fight with this evil dude, and evil dude goes to just take his crown because I'm the king now. Well, he just snatches it out of the air because his power is metal manipulation. And so he takes it, he crumples it in his hands, and he expands his hands, and now he's got a frickin' sword made out of his crown.
Cool.
That was like one of the coolest things ever.
Magneto.
Yes. The other one, also from the same series, because the power's in the blood. You know, the weaker you are, the closer to death you are, the less powerful you are, because you have less blood in your body.
I was thinking of a different kind of power in the blood.
So
I'm sorry.
If you put more blood in your body,
no, no,
Wonder working power in the blood.
In the blood.
Well, I was thinking it too. I was thinking it before I even said words.
I bet.
You know, because also I had church this morning. Anyway, look, I like that song.
We got to make fun of the other ones.
I mean, I understand. It's fine.
What does he do with the blood?
Okay, so I have to get a little bit of explanation.
Yeah.
In this series of books, you can manipulate different elements: metal, fire, water, earth, and blood. There's 2 people in the world called Atari who can manipulate all of them, and they can travel between the parallel Londons because there's 4 of them.
Cool.
And in each London, there's different degrees of magic. There's Black London, which magic went rampant and destroyed everything. So it's sealed off. Nobody goes there. Red London, magic's everywhere. It's commonplace. Like, you know, you want to use magic to grow flowers. Cool. Gray London is our world. There's no magic. They've heard of it because they know of the other worlds, but it's not there. White magic is slowly dying, so there's magic, but it's going away, and they have to use either items with bind runes or put bind runes on themselves. Anyway, so Kel, he is an Atari, so he can go through all of them, and he uses his blood to actually do his magic. So to open the doorway, little cut, draw symbol. He says words just as a way to focus himself. Like, it doesn't matter what he says, but it's a focusing thing. And boom, he can open it. And he can use his blood to do other cool things.
Gotcha.
I think one of my favorite magic systems is when there's more than one kind of magic. Kind of like where some guys, like, I don't like chanting magic when all magic is chanting magic. But when it's like this one spell you have to like chant for or say some words, I can get behind that. Yeah. But also, like, sometimes it's nice to just like Full Metal Alchemist, like clap your hands together, touch something. Sorry.
You did touch something.
You did touch something.
Magic happened.
That was
Like,
transmutation.
you conjured the bong.
If wish I could.
Earth magic.
If because like in Full Metal Alchemist, like alchemy is more of a science, a day-to-day thing. Like it's almost an arm of the military in their country. Is they have alchemists that you can harness these powers. It can do everything from like there's my favorite one is Roy Mustang. He can shoot fire because the way they describe it is he wears these gloves that are imbued with flint. So whenever he snaps, it causes a spark, and then he uses the alchemic symbols on the back of his hand to rearrange the air molecules in front of him to a flammable substance so that he shoots fire. And it's like, it's a very hard magic system, but the way they explain it is such a like, yeah, it's just like, this is what he decided to specialize and train into. And those are my favorite kinds of magic systems, when it's like, there's inherent magic in the world, but you have to dedicate a part of yourself and like train and do something to get to that point.
So you have to basically learn to harness it.
Yes, it's like I mean, because in the series, like, even though the two main characters are supposed to be like prodigies and like they're super young, like as like 7 and 8 year olds, they're doing light alchemy of like, oh, I turned this little piece of floor into a wooden horse. And that's also a thing, is the law, it has the law of equivalent exchange, which is, again, favorite hard soft magic system. Is it's a one-line phrase that tells you everything of the powers of alchemy. You cannot create more, or you cannot destroy more than that is created. Like, matter has to go in, the same exact matter has to come out. Like, yeah, you can repair stuff, but if there's not enough material there, you'll have to thin everything else out and make it inherently weaker. So that's that drawback.
Well, how did his brother become a ghost that haunts a suit of armor? I know they're trying to save his mom,
Right,
but
okay.
To me, just based on the law of equivalent exchange, the way it's explained doesn't make sense as to why he's ghost armor boy.
Okay, so what happened was, as with every good anime, the mother died when they were young because of dead mom disease, because they have to be the main character.
Right.
And being the young alchemists that they were, they thought, I know everything that goes into a human being. I know how to do that, because humans are just a mix of chemicals and elements and just stuff. We'll do that, and we'll do this basically banned, like, everyone that is an alchemist knows you do not do this ceremony. They did the ceremony, and with the law of equivalent exchange, the way that it works is they had to give up something. So, like, Edward, the older brother, he wanted to stand tall and reach up and grab his mom back and do everything. So they took his legs, so he can't stand. His brother wanted to only feel his mom hug again, so they took his body so he can't feel. And then Edward, in a fit of, oh my God, what have I done? You ripped my brother away from me after I already lost my mom. He sacrificed he gave a piece of himself, his left arm, to basically the being of alchemy, to get his brother's soul back, and bound it to a suit of armor so that his brother can inhabit the suit of armor. But it's just like his soul is there while his body is in the alchemy plane.
And if that seal is ever destroyed inside of that suit, the Ed will die.
Yeah, it's more of a like connection phone in of like, hey, you can communicate and you can be in our world, but if anything happens, you're gone, and then you're gone forever.
So if somebody was to, I don't know, penetrate the brother and be inside of him and wear his suit of armor, he's dead.
No, actually, I know you're trying to make a joke, but there is a
scene. But I was also asking a question.
That is actually a common thing because the way that it works is everything is tied to your seals, like your alchemic symbols, your alchemic circles, and Alphonse has a alchemic circle drawn in his brother's blood on like the base of his neck. And if anything can happen to the suit of armor, as long as that one piece is still there, his brother is attached to that. There's a scene in the anime where like the brother's armor gets shredded. I mean, it's just like there's like half of the top, one leg, part of an arm, part of a helmet. And they even say like, oh my God, it got so close to that symbol and I almost lost you. And that's a fun magic system, because like when you keep it a little bit soft, you're able to almost play with it more, and the boundaries are a little bit more, it can do more, and you can make it do more for you. And for a good author and a good someone that knows how to play in that system well, they can make it really good. My least favorite kind of magic system is a hard magic system from someone that has never written a hard magic system and wants to just have a million rules in the book of what things can and can't do, and what you have to have and what you can't have. Do it. It annoys the hell out of me.
It just like fills pages. It's just, here's some ingredients, basically.
Like, especially when it's
over and over again.
When it brings everything to such a stop, because you can tell that the author had an idea of like, here's how I want my magic system to work, but they don't know how to integrate it naturally. So it's just blurb dumped of, hey, here's 3 paragraphs or like 10 minutes where they're in the wizard shop and he's explaining everything. And it's just like, oh my God, can we get going with the story?
Yeah. I hate chanting magic.
Mm-hmm.
Every bit of the anime stuff that I watch, where most of my magic consumption comes from, it's always overcoming the chanting magic that makes the hero better. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, one of my favorites. He is actually born into this world to where he understands that magic is now existing, but he does not know that you have to chant to cast magic, because all he did was just kind of feel magic and read these words and understand why he was reading these words, and then know that this is what these words represent, and he would just hold out his hand and said spell would happen, and he would have to learn how to get trajectory off of it and how he would will it in a certain direction and all this. So the next time he comes in contact with a mage other than himself, just because he's going to be trained, she's talking to him about how he has to go through all these incantations, and he's like, but why? She's like, because you have to get permission from the magic to actually use the spell and have to do this. And then he's like, oh. She's like, why? How have you been doing it? He's like, well, he just holds out his hand and goes, boom. like a giant water ball just pops from his hand. She's like, that's incantationless magic, and nobody can do that.
Yeah.
I don't like chanting incantation magic.
So we all can agree kind of on that.
It's boring.
It is.
It's
If
boring.
it's like one word or one person saying like two words, or say Zatanna, she has to just say backwards, and that's the spell that she casts. But she's the only one that does that in a world of other superheroes and stuff. So that's kind of cool. But it doesn't involve two or more people.
When you got to read off
a bunch
like
of stuff,
3 pages of Latin to cast a fireball, it's like, this isn't.
Please don't.
Yeah, it's like, this is just boring.
My favorite kind of magic is an understanding of magic within yourself that doesn't fit the magic system you're surrounded by.
Where you're the special.
Yeah. Just where people have this, everybody has an understanding of magic, but just yours transcends everything that anybody's imagining. Just because I watch all these damn ezekais where everybody's from another world, because you're taking somebody like us. You're taking somebody like us that has just been, steeped heavily in the nerd tea, and we are then poured into the pitcher from the pot where everything is magic now? You're telling me all this stuff that I know can actually happen here? That's my favorite stuff, just because you transcend what everybody around you knows, just because your imagination and your will to create what never existed for you and could never exist for you can now exist. Oh, that just gives me all the nice feels.
There's some examples of that are, for me, there's this fine line between the prodigy that just knows how to do it all naturally, like you said, the one that like doesn't chant anything, they just can do the magic. Like, for me, I feel like that would make more of a villain, because you've got this world of people that are trying and learning magic, using their entire lives, spending it to do the grueling training of learning how to do magic. And you got this one asshole that's just like a little kid that's just like, oh, fire? You mean like this? Like, and then why can you do that and no one else can? Whenever that person is made the hero, it takes me out of it a little bit, because I feel like they would quickly become the villain when everyone hates them for being able to do that.
Interestingly enough, in the Lightbringer series, before the series starts, they had what was called the False Prism War. So there's one prism. He can separate light into the different colors and can access every light in the spectrum. Okay. So there were 2 prisms, and they were having a war to be who was the true prism. So you had 2 specials duking it out who were brothers and weren't twins, but they were really close. So it can go either way.
And I don't mind whenever that is. The thing that whenever it's just like someone can just do it, because in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, usually to do alchemy, you have to have some sort of alchemic symbol. Like, you have to have. So that's why, like, people that use their alchemy for combat on their hands, their weapons have alchemic symbols so that they can just channel it. Whereas with Edward and Alphonse, where they paid such a heavy price, and they call it seeing the truth, like the true alchemy. You saw your truth. They can just clap their hands together and like just think about what alchemy they want to do, and it happens. But it's almost like a black mark to be able to do that, because alchemists know, oh, you tried to do something forbidden,
right?
And you paid the price. Because there's another character, Azumi.
That's their master, their trainer.
Yes, their trainer, their master. She also did the forbidden alchemy of wanting to bring her child back, and her price to pay was the truth went in there and took her reproductive organs out, and now she gets sick and throws up blood and like regularly happens. There's nothing they can do because she wanted so badly to do this that she tried to defy and spit in the face of God or truth, and truth said, no, you're immortal. Like, you can't do this. You can't decide when things can and can't happen. So yeah, you can learn to do alchemy without having to have the symbols, and you can just clap and go and move and go, but you're going to be paying a price for it. And it's not just say, oh, well, now I have this thing. It's like, this is something you're carrying for the rest of your life. And that's I think a good way to do that system where someone is a prodigy is give them a price that they have to pay to have that power.
And it's a heavy PTSD that they all share. All of these alchemists that have made this sacrifice, that have sacrificed too much and done the forbidden alchemies, they all share this shipwreck survivor style mentality to where they all have the same PTSD of the same black door, the same, dark deity that is basically the truth and the one who is enforcing the equivalent exchange. They know of this. They share this same spot. So it's sad and multi-layered. It adds a depth to the story.
Well, as an outsider who's not seen this entire show, just based on what you described, I don't see it necessarily as you're paying a price, more as a punishment. Because you did a bad, and so now you're going to have to live with this as a consequence for that, yet you still get extra powers. I mean, I kind of see it as like you get a deeper understanding. So it's kind of like being able to interpret a work as opposed to just read it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And
it's also like you're wearing a cursed mark. Like you're wearing the scarlet letter. Like if you're using circleless alchemy, you're not having to make your designs, your patterns, or have it. You just complete the circle with your hands. Do the clap. Here we go. That's your scarlet letter of proclaiming that I have done this.
Yeah, but you're also more powerful than everybody around you because you're not bound to these symbols and having to do these things. You can just do it using your will.
Well, and one way they kind of get around that is, like, the symbols, I don't know, it's because each alchemist has their own thing. Like Armstrong,
I love him.
Lieutenant Armstrong, big, muscly, ripped guy, like the picture of big, giant jock dude. And he does different things with his alchemy, and it's like you can do multiple things off of one circle. So it's never like he runs into an instance where it's like, oh my God, I can't like make a wall because I have my rock throwing circles on. It's like as long as he has his gauntlets on. And to take like half a step back, and in the show they do have something that circumvents everything. It's called the Philosopher's Stone. It can basically, you can bypass the law of equivalent exchange. And spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I mean, it came out like forever ago.
I might watch it.
Like a decade ago.
Watch it.
They find out, because like the Philosopher's Stone is something like everyone knows, every alchemist knows about the Philosopher's Stone. I mean, it lets you do anything you want.
For your Harry Potter fans, it's called the Sorcerer's Stone.
Right.
Same thing.
Except in England, which I think it was actually called the
Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
But what they find out is to make a singular Philosopher's Stone that doesn't even last forever, like to make one that humans can use, it takes thousands of innocent souls. Like there's even parts where there's a couple characters that grant immortality because the bad truth, one of the demons talks them into sacrificing an entire city, an entire civilization just for one person to grant this power. And it's like, that's the thing, is like everything you could do to circumvent it, you are paying some sort of price, and there's going to be something that you're holding on to. And that's, I don't know, that's another thing that I thought was kind of fun bit to the magic system, is that even the stuff to bypass it to get whatever you want, you're paying such a heavy price for, that even the characters in the show are like, oh my God, this is what we've always wanted to do, and we cannot do it anymore. Because I mean, how are you supposed to justify bringing one person back by killing thousands?
I think Tiny mentioned, like, you feel like that's more of a punishment than a price. I think it also depends on the character.
Yeah.
Because there are some characters that they'll pay this price, and like killing an entire city. If it's a character that doesn't care for life, that's not a punishment for them.
True.
It's more of just like, I understand this is a price to pay, but it's not a punishment to me because I don't care.
I was
getting
talking
the right
more
thing.
along the lines of the main characters that we were discussing, the
Yeah, yeah,
brothers and
Right.
the teachers.
It's like both because the price was
it's a matter of
punishment,
perspective,
right?
realistically.
I mean, this is also in a universe to where you've got monsters that exist that are just representations of the cardinal sins
Yeah.
that just require no alchemy. Circles, all this. They are alchemy.
They're homunculi beings where they are basically a philosopher's stone brought to life. So they don't even use alchemy. They can just do whatever. There's one Lust, each one has a perfect weapon. Like Lust has her perfect spears where she can shoot like basically infinitely long spears out of her fingers. There's Greed with his perfect guard. Basically he can rearrange the carbon atoms in his skin to make it harder than diamond. So he can always like protect himself. And even they come with, there's only so much charge on it. So it's even with the magic systems, there's even like limits to their power, but they're definitely a lot more powerful and a lot scarier than normal people.
But I loved it when Mustang took his frustration out on Envy.
But he has a cool car.
You better have a cool car.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
Viper.
that's kind of the fun thing with it too, is when you play with some of these magic systems, sometimes you can take something in our world and reimagine it in their world. Because like, yeah, they have cars, but they never developed like high grade weapons. Like they have guns, but it's like nothing crazy, because what good would a gun would be whenever I have a guy that can shoot fire out of his hands next to a guy that can throw like 2-ton boulders at people?
Well, it depends how much they have to chant.
At
Cast gun is way faster than like 5 minutes of chanting.
at the same time, too, towards the very end of the series, they have a very big price for some alchemy that they pay, and they had alchemy ripped away from them, and they were transported. They weren't killed and left in this world where alchemy exists. The simpler thing was to just Ezekiel them, so they're sent to our world.
Oh, you're talking about the 2003 full. I'd like to imagine
Yes.
that one doesn't exist.
I just thought that was a really cool little twist.
It is a fun twist, but as a Full Metal Alchemist fan, anyone that's ever curious and watching, listen to my words. Watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It is a 1-to-1 rip of the manga. I read the first 9 volumes of the manga, and I was like, oh, this is just the anime. I can go on a whole tirade about the difference between Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist
in
Brotherhood.
the words of Tiny, but that's a story for another time.
That's a story for another podcast.
Just like many stories we'll have in the future. Thank you for being here, for us to talk about magic today. It was a lot of
I had another one.
Tiny,
but that's
what?
okay.
Do you want to save it for the after dark?
No.
You want to save it for the after dark?
No, it's fine. It's
or do you want to do it now?
magical,
Oh, you can make it now.
No, go ahead.
Do it,
Finish
do it
wrapping
now.
up.
Do it now.
Finish wrapping up.
Do you
No,
want to
go
do it
ahead.
now or in the after dark?
I
You
can
pick.
do it. I can do it for the Patreons.
All right, we'll do it in the
Ooh,
after
okay.
dark. Tiny, it's for the patrons. You get Tiny's special last thing. Oh, that sounded strange.
Wait till I whip it out.
They said, "Oh boy," that's what we call the after dark. Oh boy! Thanks for being here in this magical hour that we spent with you. Join us next week as we do something that's either one or two of two things that may be something that we do or don't. We might, though.
And you should
I
probably
think the
ponder
cough medicine's kicking in.
I think you should ponder to yourself,
Yeah.
when life gives you sick,
Oh no.
what do you do with those grapes?
Oh no.
No.
As long as it's not cherry flavored, I don't care.
Cherry flavored grapes? Astrology, move the frick over. We're in dick phases now.